At the state capitol, with all the talk of political gridlock, it's hard to remember a time when Wisconsin politics were less partisan. But one Assembly Republican is trying to recapture that feeling. Representative Dean Crawford originally served from 1991 to 2014, but was recruited to run again when the last round of redistricting made his old seat much more competitive. Crawford won last fall by just 365 votes. Here and Now senior political reporter Zach Schultz sat down with Crawford this week to talk about what's changed and what he hopes to accomplish.
Well, Representative, thanks for meeting with us. What's it like to be back in the state capitol?
Well, it's exciting on one hand. I still tell people when they ask me that question, I still get those good fuzzy feelings driving down East Washington Street. You come into the Capitol and the Capitol comes into view as you're driving, and there's still an electric feeling. And then I know at that point I kind of went, I did the right thing by coming back, because it's still exciting to walk into this building.
Is it fair, though, to say that you wouldn't be here today if the maps hadn't been redrawn to make it a district where Republicans needed you to run in order to win it?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't in my wife and my plan to do this. I was happy being semi-retired, only running a business.
Well, how did you get recruited? How did that process happen?
I think some people talked to me. Some of the leaders talked to me and asked if I would have any interest. Numerous people said to me, Dean, there's only one guy who can win this seat. And it just got me thinking. And it is important who's in charge here. The majority party has a lot more power. And the second best job I had being mayor was being chair of finance committee, because that taught me all about government. And I love government. I hate politics. My entire years in the legislature, we were responsible for our own fundraising. It was all local. The most we spent was $39,000. I think was the highest that I ever spent in my campaign. And now it's millions of dollars. The Democrats, and their friends spent $3.8 million against me. Our side, I think, spent $1.3 million. Job pays $57,000 a year. It is crazy. But $3.8 million against you, every day getting your head pounded in. Every day, both parties, Republicans and Democrats, because I watched ads from both parties all over the state. Lies, fabrications. It's just not good. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, at night, I'm not afraid to say, my wife and I would go, what the hell did we do this for? Because you'd come home at night after watching the TV, having, 10 ads during a TV show that were just blatant lies, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's no fun. It's no fun for you. It's no fun for your family. And then the hardest part is when you get here, and then people say, are you going to be bipartisan? Can we work together? Well, you just spent 3 months, 4 months telling people in my district what a bad person I was.
Compare and contrast how the budget was done back in the 2000s, Governor Doyle, Democrat, versus today, Governor Evers, a Democrat with, Republican legislative majorities.
Yeah, that's a great question, especially in this environment that we're in. And, we were able to do things together. Even back then, when Jim Doyle was governor, the Republicans had the legislature, and I was the chair of Joint Finance. There was a lot more communication between the governor's office and between the finance committee and the legislative leaders. I respect Governor Evers, and I met with him after I came back here, because Governor Evers knows that I was one of the more moderate members of the Republican caucus. And you got to be, when the district that I represent is 45% Republican, 55% Democrat. And so I represent the district. And that communication just doesn't seem to be there. And I told the governor, I said, Governor, you got to reach out. You got to extend that olive branch. You're the governor.
So you are the chair of corrections. Is that something you requested? Do you have a mission in your second wind here?
I said, you know what? Corrections is going to have some pretty heavy stuff this time. So I requested it. And now, as it turns out, the governor's in his budget. It's a very complex problem, and he has a solution that's going to cost a lot of money. But you know, at the end of the day, closing Green Bay, I'm touring it on Thursday morning. I toured Waupun last week, and Green Bay needs to come down. So we need to figure out. Here's another issue that Republicans and Democrats, this shouldn't be political, but we should be able to figure out a way how to make sure our inmates are safe and our correctional officers are safe. So I'm dedicated to doing that.
Is it fun to have a purpose where you can see something that may be a little easier to get consensus on?
Yeah, and that's what I'm best at. You know, I mean, is getting people together. I know that I'm going to only be here 2 or 4 years, probably 4. I'm going to try for 4, but I don't have an agenda. I don't have to appease anybody. I can do what Dean Crawford thinks is right, whether it's Republican, Democrat. And I've been known to leave my party, but I will be with them 95% of the time. But I also will chastise them when I think they're doing something wrong. I will try to convince them to massage it. I've already had some successes where I've said in caucus, I've said, you know, your bill's okay, but this needs to change. And you know, they respect me enough to make that change and say, hey, we're okay with that. It makes it better. And so I do have a purpose for a couple years or 4 years, and that's to try to make this place better, try to make this place run better, and see if we can't change the political climate. I don't know if we're going to be able to, because there's too darn much money involved in politics, but I'm going to sure try.